Training camps have started. Games start in 2 weeks. You got Vegas odds already coming out, and there are some serious NBA bust potentials coming up hot. I'm going to be breaking down both mentally, physically, the 4 most overrated NBA teams that we will see this season. And I really hope you guys didn't put any money on these teams. We're also going to break it down into the mental and the psyche of some of these players on these teams and why this could be an absolute travesty. And you're not going to want to miss the last team. This is not only a team that everybody's high on, but is getting the most money thrown as title contenders. And they are wasting their money. It's going to get crazy, and I'm your NBA white guy. I talk all things NBA hoops from a hooper's perspective. And if you love that kind of content, then make sure you dunk that like button and you subscribe so that you never miss a thing. This offseason was a little bit messy for a whole lot of teams. There's so much animosity in some of these locker rooms, and there's a lot of illegal controversies that happen that could really sway the future for a lot of these NBA teams. Now, there's a lot of things that I'm super high on. I think the New Orleans Pelicans are going to be an absolute sleeper team. You got your boy Zion. This guy could have an MVP type season. This year, more than any in the history of the NBA, we're going to have more stars healthy than we've ever seen. Last season in 2021, 2022, every single star was hurt. All the top teams were getting beaten. And this season has the most potential for some star-studded parity amongst the NBA. Now, looking at the Vegas odds, you will notice one thing this season. Again, parity. Now, we're going to talk about these NBA busts. You're not going to want to miss the last one because it has the most money being put on it in the state of Nevada for Vegas gambling, and why I think they're going to be an absolute dumpster fire. In fact, that team could be decimated halfway through the season. But there's also a lot of parity, and there's many teams that are in that top 10 that are close to, having the highest Vegas odds. So I think there's going to be a lot of parity, but there's 4 teams, they ain't got a chance. Number 1, according to Vegas odds, this team has the 5th best odds to win an NBA championship, and it is the Phoenix Suns. Now, when you look at this team winning so many regular season games, being led by one of the best players ever and leaders, the point guard Chris Paul, no matter where he goes, he gets them to the playoffs. They are going to struggle this year. The reason being is that they do not have a few of the things it takes to be title contenders. Number 1 is a bona fide leader and scorer. Now, you have Chris Paul, and you're like, whoa, he's a leader. Yes, he is. The problem that always happens with him, especially down the stretch, is some sort of injury that derails his postseason career. Now, the other aspect of this, he has one of the NBA's top scorers in Devin Booker, but we have yet to see him actually be anything more than just a role player in the playoffs. Now, the biggest problem lies in the psychology, the angst in the locker room. There is a video out there where your boy DeAndre Ayton is getting asked about how excited he is with his new contract that got matched because the Indiana Pacers offered him a max contract. And his answer was, it's cool, I guess. And they're like, really? That's all you have to say? Yep. He don't want to be there. And when you have one player ruining the entire chemistry of the locker room, you're going to see angst. Now, what happens is you're going to start losing a couple games. You go on a couple game skid. You start pointing fingers. The stories start pouring out of the locker room, and it's going to be a tragedy. The other aspect of this, another player who's very disgruntled and has been very open about getting off the team, Jay Crowder. Now, I think a lot of this is because he likes being in Phoenix. He likes playing with Chris Paul. But I think everybody's tired of Ayton and his attitude. So this is why I know right out of the gate the Phoenix Suns are just going to be a bust. Plus, there's also a super sneaky player that never gets any limelight that went to a team that has the 13th best odds in the NBA to win a title, and they're completely underrated. That's the Dallas Mavericks, and that's JaVale McGee. Losing JaVale McGee, I hated seeing the Los Angeles Lakers lose him. You cannot get vets like that who are at every game, cheering everybody on, holding people accountable. And when that dude gets in the game, he is an absolute rim protector. That is a big time loss for when Ayton is off the court, and I think the Suns, they're going to be hurting this year. The 3rd biggest bust this season, everybody's super high on them. In fact, they're saying it's the best team in the building. It's in LA, and it's not the Lakers, it's the Clippers. The Clippers, amongst all of the other NBA teams, seem to have the most depth. and they're going to need it. Now, we're going to talk about why I do feel like the Clippers will be a bust this season, but the first thing that we have to look at, they are ranked number 3 in the league for NBA rankings to win a title this season. Now, you have players who are incredible. We know Kawhi Leonard can play both sides of the floor probably as good or better than most. This is something that is really going to be interesting to see this season, is him at full health. Now, if you look over the last half decade, yes, I said half decade, he has been available in less than 40% of his games. And now into his 30s, I don't think that durability is coming back. This is a guy who gets any kind of injury, and he's going to take the appropriate amount of time to heal correctly. This is obviously not a guy that you can just coerce into the playoffs and just play through injuries. So I see this as something that, he's going to get plagued with injuries again. He's going to have ailments. He's going to sit out, and he's out of NBA shape. Now, I bet this dude looks like a Greek god. He's chiseled. I bet you he's in incredible shape, but there's nothing like putting the shorts and jersey on, running up and down and playing actual basketball games. So I think as any kind of ailments and injuries come, we're going to see him miss a lot of time. Plus, he is a load management player. This is going to alter rotations quite a bit and really ruin chemistry. Now, you might be looking at their other star, Paul George. This dude, he's a bucket. I absolutely love Paul George, but we've seen him in the playoffs, and I will give him credit. Last season in the playoffs, he was way better. Well, not last season because they didn't make it. They lost in the play-in game. But 2 years ago, he was a killer in the playoffs, and they've been missing Kawhi Leonard the last 2 postseasons. But this is also a guy who's barely made 50% of his games for the Los Angeles Clippers. And he's even a little bit older than Kawhi Leonard. Now, I played hoops. I played them all the way up into my 30s, and right at that 32, 33, you lose it. I'm telling you right now, there's something about that age. You can still play. Your mind is sharp. They will have that vet presence. They're going to be incredible players. I can't wait to watch them. But they are starting to age, and when they already missed 50% of the season the past few years, it's just a recipe for them. Not only third best team in the entire NBA, but third team in the West. Now, everybody's talking about their supporting role with Batum. You got Marcus Morris. You got your boy John Wall. You have other players like Reggie Jackson. All of those players are over the age of 30 as well. And if you learned anything from the Lakers last season, age don't age well. You cannot run with the young teams like the Memphis Grizzlies, even like the Golden State Warriors with some of their younger supporting cast. The Lakers got younger. Everybody got younger, and that Clippers team is old, and most of their stars have been absolutely plagued with massive injuries. So I think they're going to be a massive bust. Again, you need to comment down below at the end of this which one of these 4 teams you think is the biggest bust and which team am I missing. The number 2 team, and I hate to even say this or see it, but it's your boys, the Brooklyn Nets. Now, all across the board on a lot of the Vegas odds that I look at, they go anywhere from the 4th to the 5th team with the highest odds to win the NBA championship. When they are at full health, when they are at full mental capacity, that is going to be one of the toughest teams to beat. Now, you might say, well, look at them. Last season, the Celtics, they tore them up, man. They just locked down Kevin Durant. I get that. That's something they're going to learn from. They also got out-coached 100%, and that's not changing. And there's some other video evidence out there that I don't think this locker room's getting together yet. But at full health and full mental capacity, I keep saying, this team is dangerous. They are so freaking good, and they could easily win the NBA championship. Now, I think teams like the Bucks, especially if Middleton's healthy, can really make waves. But, just 2 seasons ago, Kevin Durant without Kyrie, that freaking toe on the line, just missed that 3-pointer to win it. They went 7 games with the Bucks. So this is a really good team. I think that they have incredible opportunity to go deep into the playoffs, but I just don't see Kyrie Irving switching off. And the biggest problem that I keep hearing all through training camp is that their coach, Steve Nash, he keeps talking about, we've had these tough conversations. They were quick, water under the bridge, and I really hope we get to this place, and I hope that we stay at that place, and I hope we get there. There's something in me that's saying, even if they're kind of cool right now, they're just not on the same page. They're not really 100% cool with each other. You got to realize that Kevin Durant asked out. You got to realize that Kyrie Irving wanted nothing to do with him. You got to realize that Joe Tsai, the owner, and the management backed the coach, which went right against the players. So there's some animosity there, and it is really tough in that locker room to fix that stuff. And I'm telling you right now, from a Hooper's perspective, if the locker room chemistry is gone, it's over with. That's when all the fingers start pointing. That's when you have a lack of effort. That's the #1 killer to teams that nobody recognizes, or no, statisticians or nobody sitting behind a desk knows. When the chemistry's gone, that's when you lose all effort. Again, I keep referencing these younger teams. That's why they give everybody the business, because they ain't got nothing to lose. They give 110% effort every night, and they take the best out of your team every single night. So you got to play at a high level, and as soon as you can't get along with one player, then it makes you not really want to play. And as soon as they get burned, you're pointing fingers, and then you just get lazy. You want a true example of that? Watch the Lakers last season. No chemistry, didn't like playing with each other, and they had no hustle. I think right now with the Nets struggling in the locker room, this could be something that makes them a major bust. But the biggest bust of all, across the board, all Vegas odds has this team #1 to win the NBA championship. But before I get to that, make sure you dunk that like button and you comment down below who's the biggest bust this season. All right. Crazy, crazy, crazy. This is the #1 team in the entire NBA across the board to win the NBA championship. The money all up on them. It's Boston Celtics. They lost their head coach, who got into some crazy illegal violations of the team policies, I guess multiple times. The team was hiding it, and that was something that I saw a little bit differently than most. Now, we look at all the players that are available or not available, and I see this season as kind of a recipe for disaster. The only thing they have going for them is that the halfway point of last season, the Celtics were a big bust. They were trying to trade Jaylen Brown, and everybody was talking about these two, and then they figured it out after All-Star break and became an absolute monster to play. Why? Because of defense, because of health. They had all of their players playing at a high level, and they really bought into Udoka's system, and that is what really showed through the playoffs. They were locking down the best player and taking that person out of the game, whether it be Giannis, whether it be Kevin Durant. They couldn't obviously do it with a very well-ran organization of the Golden State Warriors. You can't beat the chemistry. I'm beating that into your head, like the chemistry. That's what won it. But you have to realize this season, not only did they lose their coach for the entire season, who instilled that defensive mindset, they just lost Gallinari to a torn ACL. Now, he may come back towards the end of the season, but after you come off one of those horrific injuries like that, it is tough to get back into NBA shape and trust that knee. So he's constantly going to be thinking about that the entire season. We saw it with Klay Thompson. He was a shell of himself this year. That's why I'm pumped up on Klay, because he learned last season that, hey, I can play on this knee. I can play at a high level. He'll stop thinking about it, and he's going to be a bucket. And lastly, one of the best players for the entire Celtics organization, Robert Williams III. Now, he's out as well for months on end because of a knee injury as well. So these are both guys. When you come back from those injuries, I've played with guys my whole life, and some of these dudes through college who redshirted, then took medical red shirts, and they constantly had these knee issues, these knee problems. When they come back, they're very ginger on it. They really favor other legs or other body parts, and it just starts throwing them off balance. They don't get their shot back because they're constantly thinking about hurting themselves. It can really mess with you mentally, and as soon as that starts going, the mental, it's gone, and it can really crush a season. So losing the head coach, 2 top players, I think the Celtics easily are not the #1 favorites, but they're all over the Vegas odds, and everybody's putting money on it. I ain't touching them. Now, again, you comment down below, which team do you think is the biggest bust this season? Is it the Phoenix Suns? Is it the Brooklyn Nets? Is it the Boston Celtics? Or is it the Clippers? Or is it another team that I'm not even talking about? And that's why the Lakers are going to win this year. Oh, but if you're loving my kind of content from a Hooper's perspective, make sure you dunk that like button. It's the only way my videos get out there. You got to help me out. Make sure you subscribe so that you never miss a thing. And until my next video, homies, we'll catch you later.